Hello, my name is Victoria and this is video number 2 in my voiceover challenge. This is a challenge I set myself in order to practice my voiceover skills. The aim is to practice being more relaxed, to sound natural and to sound like a professional like the people on TV. In this video, I will be talking about the budget journey that my sister and I took to travel to Disneyland Paris. I will be using clips that I took during our journey. My sister and I wanted to find out what it would be like travelling from London to Disneyland Paris using the cheapest option. The journey involved a coach ride, a ferry ride, and a metro ride to get us to our final destination, Disneyland Paris. In this video, we will look at the name of the coach company, our first impression of the coach, our overnight experience on the ferry, the strange moments during our journey, and finally, our recommendation. The coach company. The name of the coach company is Flixbus. It is a German-based company that has slowly expanded throughout Europe, America, and several other countries around the world. The coach company is known for being one of the most budget-friendly ways to travel. However, you might find you have to accept that the standard may not be as high in certain areas. We certainly discovered this during our trip. The coach cost us £20 for a one-way ticket to Paris. If you check the website, you will see that different prices and destinations are on offer. The further in advance you can book, the cheaper your ticket will be. Our coach left London Victoria at 11 p.m. and arrived early the next morning. We travelled to Dover, where the coach drove onto the ferry and took us over to Calais, France. Then we continued on to Bercy-Seine. Disneyland Paris is about an hour away on the metro. Our first impressions. Unfortunately, there were several negative aspects about this budget-friendly experience. 1. Our coach had no logo on the side. This meant that it was not an official Flixbus coach. 2. When we got on, we noticed a weird, stale smell. It turned out to be cigarette smoke from the driver. 3. There were several broken seats on the coach and many were very squeaky. 4. The seat in front of my sister got stuck in the recline position. Good job, she is very small. 5. The toilet wasn't working on the coach, so anyone who needed the toilet had to get off and go and use the one in the station before we left. There was one positive aspect, and that was that the coach left on time and the journey was seamless. Our experience on the ferry. We arrived at Dover at about 1 o'clock in the morning. The driver had some information to give us, but he didn't speak any English, so he asked for a volunteer.
At 2:45 we're boarding, so you can go out right now. There's a shop with everything you need outside, but if you're not back by 2:45 the driver will leave, as the next boat is at 6, so we don't have any time to waste, but until 2:45 you can do whatever you want.
Good. To go.
At 2:45, everyone was back on the coach, except the driver. 10 minutes later he arrived and we were finally ready to drive onto the ferry. We got off the coach and we were allowed upstairs to decks 8 and 9, which are the public areas of the ferry. I was very surprised to see how light and bright and modern the ferry was. It's been over 30 years since I last went on a ferry, and my memories were of ones that were dark, dingy, and not very nice places to be. But this ferry was lovely. There was somewhere you could buy food to eat, and there were plenty of spaces where you could sit down at a table. At those tables, you could also find power outlets where you could recharge your phone and your laptop. My sister and I found a couple of really nice seats near a huge window, which was great, until we could hear the very loud sound of someone snoring. So we took a walk to the next deck and discovered the Quiet Lounge, which was an area where there were rows and rows of reclining seats. These seats were really comfortable, so we stayed here until we arrived into Calais.
On behalf of the captain, the officers and the crew, we would like to thank you for travelling with P&O Ferries and wish you a safe onward journey.
A strange moment during our journey. Once the coach left the ferry, we were driving along the motorway. Then it seemed like the driver took a detour and we were driving along residential areas, and suddenly the driver stopped outside a house, jumped out of the coach and went and knocked on a door. Someone came out of the house with their suitcase and then came over and got onto the coach. At first, we thought it was a family member that the coach driver was picking up, but it actually turned out to be the relief driver. This new driver was now going to drive the rest of the way to Paris. We finally arrived at Bercy. The metro station was about a 5 to 10 minute walk away. We got our train tickets, and after a couple of metro changes, we finally arrived at Disneyland Paris, nice and early, ready for our full day in the park. Would I recommend the Flixbus to Disneyland Paris? The answer is yes, because it is very cheap and affordable if you book well in advance. If you choose an overnight coach, you can save money because you don't have to book a hotel stay. And once you arrive at Bercy, it only takes a couple of metro rides to get you directly to Disneyland Paris. Although I do have to admit, if I had the option of getting a cheap return ticket on the Eurostar, which you can get on their special deals, then I would much prefer that because it is a quicker journey. But if I'm on a budget, then Flixbus is definitely a great option. Have you travelled with Flixbus? What was your experience? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.